We in America are having this big debate right now about history. And fundamental to that debate is a question. What is history for? What is its purpose? The answer is that it depends. History, as John Meacham has said on this show, can either be a bedtime story meant to buck up your patriotism and make you feel good, or it can be a lesson, a caution, and an instruction on how to avoid the perils of the past and how to achieve repair. When it comes to the racial history of this country, there's a real fight going on. Lots of Americans, particularly on the right, want the bedtime story. They're insisting on it. And so they're in a knockdown, drag-out fight to shut down intellectual pursuits like critical race theory, which simply asks how our racial history intersects with the construction of our laws, or journalistic historical reckonings like the 1619 Project. Too many people want to keep Americans blindly numb to the raw racial violence in our collective past. They want Americans to just shut up and feel good about America's founding and sing from the hymnal, so they don't even have to think about dealing with the repercussions of our true history and the need for repair. They want to keep comfortably living off the profits of what Ta-Nehisi Coates rightly calls piracy, with no one ever asking to examine the contents of the loot box. But the past just won't die. No matter how hard the daughters of the Confederacy fight to rewrite slavery as happy blacks singing in the fields in our textbooks, or how persistent the gauzy myths about the slave-holding founding fathers remain, history keeps punching through. Many Americans needed the Watchmen to teach them about the 1921 race massacre in Tulsa, Oklahoma, in which a white mob burned, shot, and used military planes to firebomb the Greenwood district, where black families had created a successful, comfortable little community decades after enslavement. The New York Times did an incredible visual that shows how profound the loss was. The theater, the barbershops, the bakeries, the stately homes and stores that were burned to the ground because white Tulsans hated the fact that black people had built something of their own. They used the same lie that launched more than 4,000 lynchings in that era, accusing a black man of assaulting a white woman as an excuse to wage war on an American town. Now, if the massacre that wiped out the community nicknamed Black Wall Street was just a one-off, it would be tragic. But it wasn't a one-off. Tulsa was one of dozens of similar atrocities across this country in the decades after the Civil War and the collapse of Reconstruction. In Memphis, Tennessee, in 1866, some black families burned to death in their homes because the racist mobs who attacked them wouldn't let them run outside after setting them on fire. In New Orleans that same year, black freedmen attempting a peaceful march were met by a mob of former Confederate soldiers, and dozens were killed. The spark for the Wilmington, North Carolina race massacre in 1898 was the creation of a white-black fusion government, which was violently cut down. The early decades of the 20th century.
I want to bring in my pals, Rachel Maddow, Nicole Wallace, and Lawrence O'Donnell. It's exactly like the specials, except I can't ask Maddow for cocktail tips when she's trying to write 8,000 words of copy. And I'm like, well, can't you just tell me one thing about the cocktails? No, I have to write this copy. Thank you all for being here. Let's talk about this, because I wanted you guys to be here with me because you are my comrades in arms in covering this insane moment that we're in when it comes to what is happening in our country. I want to start with you, Rachel. I would love for you to give our audience just your take, your tips. What do you think people can be doing right now that's effective?
Well, first I want to say that I love you, Joy.
I love you.
And that I am bereft that the readout is ending. I just can't even, I sort of can't get beyond that. So I want to say that, but that is also part of what I think I have to say to the country about this moment, which is find people who you respect and trust and love and make common cause with them and help yourself by learning from them and help them by standing up for them. And I think we have tried to do that. And I think that in important ways we have failed, but I think it's still the right thing to try to do. And so whether that means, joining something locally or whether that means making some sort of more unofficial common cause with the people in your life who you respect and who you think are people you can depend on, like I feel about you. You got to join forces. We can, none of us can do this alone, and being atomized.
Okay, there's a concept in the media called type. Characters in the media can either play to type or play against type. Just for example, now think of the classic movie, Whatever Happened to Baby Jane? In that movie, Joan Crawford, one of Hollywood's notorious bad girls, played the innocent victim. And Betty Davis, who usually played the sweet femme fatale, was the villain. Here is the pivotal scene.
Jane, I'm just trying to explain to you how things really are. You wouldn't be able to do these awful things to me if I weren't still in this chair.
But you are, Blanche. You are in that chair. And tell me, what are these awful things I'm supposed to be doing to you?
But you are, Blanche, you are in that chair. That was two actresses playing against type. Now, Donald Trump was never an actor. You know, sure, he started for a time with a hit TV show where he pretended to be a successful businessman when, in fact, he had squandered the $317 million he inherited from his tax-dodging daddy and needed help from Deutsche Bank and maybe the Russians. But I digress. What Trump has always been, for those who were paying attention, was a rich, malevolent, really racist man whose insecurities caused him to crave power and celebrity and to lash out at people more successful, more powerful, and smarter than he is. Think Barack Obama. And Trump, as president, always plays to type. Just this morning, he was flipping out again at athletes who kneel for Black Lives Matter. He has launched a Bull Connor-style freakout, urging and then self-implementing violent policing to shut down Black Lives Matter protests, using his own secret police. And as part of his anti-non-white immigration obsession, he infamously told 4 American congresswomen who happened to be black and brown to, quote, go back to the countries they came from. On the same day, he announced nationwide immigration raids, even though all 4 are U.S. citizens. And all but one, who was also a U.S. citizen, were born in the U.S.
Hey there, I'm Chris Hayes.
So, yeah. That's good old Joyless Reid as she spews hate. Now, that's from 4 years ago. And is there any wonder why she got fired in the past, 48 hours or 2 days, 2.5 days that it's been? There's absolutely no reason for any video. You could just scroll through, just type in Joy Reid and then scroll down as far as you want and click on any one. And within the first 20 to 30 seconds, you're going to get racism, white people bad, racism, BLM. Like, she's never saying anything without those words in her mouth. She's an absolutely toxic person. And I'm glad to see her go, like most of you are as well. So, peace out, Joyless Reid, you sack of shit. Enjoy being obscure on the internet for the rest of your life, hopefully. DEI gravy train is over. Peace.